Season 2, we're back in the building. It's Jay Wandoe, the Dose Spot. I am your host, and I appreciate everyone who has been listening. Those who have been wondering where I was, without asking, but wondering where I've been. But I've been taking a little break. I needed it. I wanted to. I've been uploading, editing, doing all these things. So that's done. Now we're just gonna get back into a little rhythm and in a little reset. And with me today, I have one of a longtime friend that I haven't been in touch with in a while, but we kept in touch through social media. Kept in touch, just supporting each other the way I guess you do now in this era. We support each other, but sometimes it's good to catch up with people. And I want to let everybody know a good friend of mine, appreciative of having her on, Miss T Nichole. Welcome, T, and I just thank you for coming on today. How you feeling?
Hello. So excited to be here. Nervous but excited.
Nerves are good.
This
Nerves
is
are
my
good.
first podcast, so uh,
Come on now, breaking barriers. I love it.
this is very exciting for me. Glad to be
Cool.
here.
So I hope to keep you entertained, so you can let your personality out. T and I met in Valdosta, Georgia. Again, that's another city that's gonna come up a lot because I spent a great amount of time out there. And I think you were in school at the time.
Yeah, I was going to Valdosta
Yeah,
State,
Valdosta State, VSU. So
the
yeah,
real VSU.
the real, come on now, let them know the real VSU. And shout out to my boy Creative. We did an episode a couple weeks back, and big shouts out to VSU. If you're on that campus anytime from I say what 05 to maybe to now, he's been doing this thing out there.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
shout out to him. Shout out to him. So with Tiera, just tell us, if you as far back as you want to go, where you from, how many siblings you have, just to get the people who you are, and myself, because I think we hung out, we kicked it several times, but like being out in those public settings, you really don't get to know people. So, with you coming on today, I've seen you grown so much. You have been in the modeling space, you've been in the creative space, and you just been out here just serving the world with your heart. And I love that. I love to see it. I appreciate it. We need more people like you.
Thank
So
you.
if you want to let the folks know where you've been, where you are, and then so I'm gonna just let you rock.
Sure. So, this is kind of a fun one about where I'm from because I think a lot of people assume that I'm from Atlanta. Because I
Yes,
don't
I
sound
did.
like where I'm from, but I'm
Okay.
from the like backwoods in the country. Like I'm very country, and I have like very country roots. Like all of my family has always been in the country, and it's like a huge family. So that's kind of what my roots are. Like super deep backwoods, eating roadkill kind of country.
Okay. Farming, y'all do chickens and
Oh yeah, like my
or
one of my best friends. I tell people all the time I grew up on a dairy farm because one of my best friends, her dad had a dairy farm, and so we go out there and run around with the cows and stuff
ooh.
like that. Another friend, like we go out in the creek in her backyard with the gators and take the boats out, ride down the creek.
Oh, oh yeah. I mean I looking at you and where you are now would never think that. So
No one
great
ever
fun fact.
guesses it.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of my roots. I think people think because I don't have the accent that it's not there, but my mom just trained it out of me really young, I think.
Okay.
Which is kind of infuriates me now because I wish I sounded like a Southern belle like she does. Um, but it's cool. I guess I get more opportunities by having a non two regional accent.
Interesting that you said that, and just put a little break in what I asked you earlier. I get the same thing. I'm from South Carolina. I'm from Florence, South Carolina, and even just the way I say South Carolina, I choose that because, like you said, when people are around you, I have enough people around me, like in my family, who sound like they're from the South, like that part
Mhm.
of the South. They say South Carolina, or it comes out like that. But I make a conscious decision, and like you said, to fit. And I sometimes ask myself, why don't I just talk like where I'm from? And yeah, it could come off as slang. I don't know if you're aware of Xavier Leggett. He's a receiver. plays for the Panthers now. He sounds like most of my family,
Mm.
and people think we're Geechee, and I think we have a little bit of that. But I've been around many places, so I don't really sound like that. So even I asked you, like, as far as your mom, like teaching that out of you, when did that start? Was that like from a child or
Yeah, I
teenager?
was still elementary school, I think, I'm sure. Um, 'Cause my dad was in the military. So
Okay,
his views about how we were raised and my mom's aligned really well because they were both very adamant about their children being well rounded.
right.
Um, and I think that so we were exposed to like a lot of different languages and cultures and things like that, even though we never lived outside of the states. Our parents kind of like brought that into the home as part of just our like regular teaching. And I think
Hmm.
that with that specified kind of like education growing up that young, I think it just naturally developed that way. And it's funny because I'm from a really tiny small town, so all of us have known each other
Like a
since
pastor
pre-K.
town.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, one of one of those. And so it's like people who've known me since kindergarten, we're in high school, asking me like, "Where are you from?" And it's like I've literally known you our entire lives. I've been right here.
that's that's social media for you. People
Right, and
forget.
it's funny because I don't think it was until I was in high school, where I really like noticed that my accent was different from the people around me because I thought I sounded like everybody else.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I always thought that was a funny part of it, but to me, I think it's just the influence of so many languages growing up. It just naturally changed my accent.
Gotcha. And that's great to have those parents who instill that. But it's great, and I know this might sound weird, but it's great to have parents in the house. Some of us do not have parents, at least not those type of parents who provide a structure and they're present minded and say, "Hey, this is what you should look out for."
Oh yeah, for
And
sure. And
because yeah,
I think now as an adult, I mean, I appreciated it back then, but now as an adult, I see even more. Like how I was raised was very different from some people, just
hmm,
based on how intentional my parents were about how they raised us. Because I come from a divorced household. My parents got divorced when I was about maybe somewhere about 5 or 6 years old, but
really
there
young,
was
really young.
never lack from either side as far as having a hands-on experience of like parenting and having both of my parents around.
That's amazing. That's good. I
Yeah.
mean, that's those values right there just show you that, sometimes people blame the children. That's there and you feel like you're the reason, but they say no. We couldn't get along, whatever reason. We had our unreconcilable differences. Or reconcilable differences. So we decided to say, you know what, let's split, but we're gonna put the children, we're not gonna show or display behaviors that may have them suffering because of our relationship or our lack of. So
Yeah, for
shout
sure,
out
for
to your
sure. Because
parents.
even I think what's really different about my experience with my parents growing up too is that my stepmom came into our lives. I was probably like 8 or 10 years
Okay.
old, and her and my dad were together like well until I was in college. But her and my mom were always like hand in hand in like
Nice.
making decisions about how we're going to be raised and what they're comfortable with, as the mothers in the situation of how we want to be raised. Because she had 3 kids too. Um, and so I think that I appreciate that a lot because I know most people don't have like great, melded family
Hmm.
relationships. And I mean, ours was kind of messy sometimes just because it was a lot of kids. My parents had 4, and then my stepmom had 3. And at no point in time were any of my parents like afraid to just like pick extra children up who needed guidance and a place to stay or something to eat. So they were I always grew up around like a lot of people,
Really, really blended. Like they
really
blended
blended.
family. Okay. And so even with that, like you said, having just I had the stepdad, and my parents weren't together and weren't married, but understanding that mom's side, dad's side, the family did contribute in their own way, and I see some of that lack sometimes because um just maybe communication or it's not something that's discussed. Where okay, if you're gonna help out, help out in this way. There should be some standards there. But it's good that you're. I'm pretty sure there was some conversations, some very tough conversations had where it's like, all right, you the know you new woman, you the mom, but I'm the mom too. I'm her mom, I'm their mom. So
It's
that's
funny
good
because I
to
don't think they really ever did. Like, if
okay.
anything, like they would like plot against my dad.
Mm,
I think that
wow.
would be like the
That's
most
interesting.
of it. Like they would like go behind my dad's back and be like, hey, we want to take the kids shopping. And so she's like, okay, well, I'll bring the kids at this time while he's at work, and we can all go shopping and get everything together. And we just bought everything before he can make it home, so it's too late then.
Ooh, you had it great. I mean, not not that they
Not
get
for him.
divorced, but you had two
Absolutely, yeah,
moms.
for them, yeah, for them,
Yeah.
and for us, it was great. Like I loved it.
Hmm.
And so I don't think my dad was like loved that my stepmom got along so well, but
Right.
I think he was grateful also.
Sure. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. I can definitely see that. And as you got older, once and you have, I'm pretty sure you're not the only, like, or where you fall into the family, like older sister,
Oh,
big
I'm the
sister, little sister.
oldest
Okay,
sister. Yes, I am the
on
leader
all
of the
sides.
family.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. And I'm the older grandchild, oldest great grandchild, oldest great grandson, oldest of my brothers. So yeah, having those almost like a fear of failure to this day. Um, Maybe not the most quote unquote successful. I don't want to come off like that, but I have been more places and I've been experiencing more areas, but I've never looked at my brothers or I have three, never looked at them like you didn't do enough or you're not doing like me. So because they had their own path.
Hmm.
We all grew up in different times, different eras. So, but I just hope that they continue living and not and looking at life like, okay, I can continue to be something.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, can do what you want to do. And to segue with that, as the big sister, big sibling, when it was time to go to college, was that something that was new to the family, or because I know you
No,
say your dad was military?
my mom went to college. My dad didn't, because he went to the military instead.
Hmm.
But so whenever we always grew up knowing that our only options were college or the military after we left high school.
Yeah.
We always grew up knowing that. So like I was in elementary school, picking out colleges. So I
Wow.
always knew I was gonna go to college. I don't think there was ever a question about it. I
Okay.
knew I
Was it
couldn't make it
state
in the
like?
military.
Yeah, that ain't for everybody. I did my time. I did. I'm like 9 years active duty. I probably should have got out around 3, just because I was just in it. And so by the time you met me, I was pretty mature, but I wasn't
Yeah,
like it wasn't something I was passionate about. Like this is something I'm passionate about. Speaking with people,
yeah,
doing counseling and therapy and things like that. I love doing that. I love having those conversations. I love teaching.
right. Well,
And it's
thank you for your services, but
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that like even in that space, like you probably like still made a difference because when y'all in the
Yeah.
military, especially when you're going through your basic training and stuff like that, y'all are all the family y'all get for a while.
Mm.
Y'all
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
all depending on what you get shipped off to do and what your job is. Like that's you're depending on these people for your life. So
No, that's a great perspective.
I think that's still a way that that you're serving people. And as far as mental health goes, mental health and the military are two things that need to be hand in hand, entwined and tied up with a bow because
That's my applause, by the way, in the background.
yeah,
Yes.
I think that's one of my like pillars of my philanthropy is mental health because I struggle with mental health issues. And so like anybody else who's going through it in any other type of way, I'm like, these people need help. How can I help?
Sure. Yeah, please. Let's get them help, because we are, I feel like, same here. I'm diagnosed with certain things, but it's just like, it's probably more I'm not diagnosed with, or things like ADHD and things like that I never got diagnosed with as a child, or even being a child who, when my wife brought this up to me, she was like, "You were gifted and talented, growing up, but you didn't have the family seeing that or having it within them to push you."
Mhm.
And so, although I didn't, my grades didn't reflect as I got it through school. Excuse me. Although my grades didn't reflect, and when I got through school, because I was bored or because I didn't know, I was trying to hang out with the cool people instead of doing my work or turning my work in. I limited myself, and it was the same with the military. I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I didn't speak up and say, "Hey, is there a way out?" As impactful as things were, I got my basic training friend. I spoke with him today. This is 18 years ago, and we
Mm.
we we still keep up. That's pretty much my brother. So that part I adore. So that part I always cherish. But the going through something at 19, 20, 21, 22 years old and not really wanting to be in it or not knowing why you're doing it is tough.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree because I think I think with me, like with my mental health challenges that I had, um, people be like, what are your short term goals? What are your long term goals? What are your goals for the
Mm.
next five,
Oh,
10 years,
the
whatever?
default questions.
Right. It's like when I was in high school, especially, I didn't have a plan, and this is gonna sound morbid to say, but like I didn't have a
Okay,
plan because I didn't plan
sure.
to be here. So people be like, "Oh, what job are you gonna have to sustain you for the rest of your life?" I don't plan for there to be one, so I didn't make a plan, and so I went into college, and I think it could have been a really different situation for me if I had um, kind of got a hold of my mental health earlier in things. But like it wasn't until I dang near graduated, I think, that I actually started to like make a plan for my life, because that's around the time when I actually started getting like counseling and
Right.
trying medications and things like that. And actually even recognizing that I had a problem. I didn't even realize my mental health issues were real until one of my friends was like, "Hey, you know, maybe that's not okay, and you should probably speak to someone about it." And I was like, "Oh, that's not normal?" She's like, "No, it's not."
Hey,
And that's
friend,
what's
if you hear this, love you, friend. Thank you, friend.
yes, yeah. Shout out to them because yeah, my friends are the only reason I made it through college. 110%, hundred
Hmm.
and ten percent.
That's a testimony, man. Like I tell people all the time, like I didn't plan for this podcast to be one of those, but I know when God's working, He's working, and I feel like whether you believer in God or follow Christ, whatever it is, you need to believe in something.
And
And
something.
I just always feel that way. Like it don't have to be what I believe in, but having that, you never know who's watching, you never know who's listening to you. I see it all the time, especially I just moved to San Antonio, and I see the population of homelessness and people who really need help. And I look at them not as like bums or anything. I'm like, well, you probably made a mistake, and
Yeah.
you made another mistake, trying to make up for that first one,
Hmm.
and it didn't go well. Or like you just said, you didn't get help early on, and there was no one there that could support you. Maybe you probably rejected the support. Who
Yeah.
knows? You could
No,
have
that's
at one
exactly what
point.
happened.
Yeah, you had all the resources you needed, and you said, you know what, I got it. I'm good. I'm not, gonna talk to anybody. Why? Like you said, you didn't think anything was wrong. You thought that was normal.
Or I was like, what do I need to talk to somebody for? I'm cool. Like, yeah, I want
Yeah.
to eat myself off the earth sometimes, but I thought everybody was like this. No. Um,
No. Yeah.
and I think it honestly, like you said, God works in truly mysterious ways. Because not long after I started like getting help with my mental health issues and stuff like that, it was like the time after college where before I got help, I would have absolutely like plummeted, but
Mm,
it just prepared me for all the other stuff I went through. Because you even brought up like the homeless population in Texas, or
sure.
really anywhere you go nowadays. And
Right. That's
something that a
bad.
lot of people don't know about me is like I went through a time where I was homeless. and sleeping in my car. And thank God, I had a car to sleep in. Most people don't even have that. And so homelessness is another one of my legs of my philanthropy. Um,
Okay.
but it's just like it is, sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you try, your best is not going to be good enough. And there are only so many things you have control over. And time is not one of those. The way people
Not at
treat
all.
you is not one of those.
Not at all.
And
Jack.
and when you don't have a place to live, I think you realize those things a little bit more aggressively. And it's weird because most people, well, I won't say most, a lot of people do treat the homeless like they're the like doing something wrong, when really they were failed by who knows what circumstances or people who were supposed to be there for them.
So you just pretty much ended me. Like I'm so I mean it's because it hurts, it breaks my heart to know that about you, that I was there around you, and I couldn't help you, and I look at my quote unquote, I say friends, we follow each other. We're
Hmm.
following people. These are people that you once had some attachment to, right?
Hmm.
And you have it through social media, but it's like you don't know these people. You see them smiling, you see them posting their families, their trips, and have no idea this person could have been. You could be looking at a remember me page or remembrance page,
Hmm.
because they didn't have whatever they needed to have an outlet. So you know that I guess I'll start using that whenever I start explaining, well, what's your podcast about? Because I get that all the time. That's what it's about. It's about an outlet. And I open my doors, computer links up to pretty much anyone, because I needed this one at one point. I love speaking about things because I know somebody, even if you don't need it today or next week or tomorrow, your child, your uncle, your cousin, your nephew, whatever, may hear this and say, you know what? I'm glad I wasn't feeling, actually wasn't alone as lonely as I did feel. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate the transparency. I appreciate you understanding your worth and your value on earth.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and with that, did your friends, like, how aggressive or how honest were they with you, or did you just tell them and they listen?
With the depression,
Just whenever they felt like, okay, I need to step in, that my friend ain't, saying.
I think what really like sparked it is we were just sitting at one of the houses one day, just having a conversation, about life or just whatever was going on. And I think I
Hmm.
was just telling him about like some of the feelings I was having at that time. And I think that was one of the first times that I really like opened up to someone about it. Um, and so I mean, I think they just gave like the logical, rational reaction to that conversation. And the person I happen to be talking to, I just thought about this. She's actually a clinical therapist now, um, and she's the one
Oh
who
wow.
suggested that I go. And yeah, that is so funny. Um, and so that's how like that kind of transpired. But like I said, it had to
Hmm.
be that person for it to happen. It had to have been that person at that time, or I probably wouldn't have. I would have done like I always did and just be like, oh, I don't care. That's whatever.
Right.
Um, and some of my other friends who I kind of talked to, I guess around that time, who eventually found out about some situations that happened. Um, I think I was nervous to tell people because I was embarrassed. Especially because back
Mm.
then
That's
I was still
that's
new to
fair.
like the healing process, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, But more recently, I've been trying to be more open, with my story and the things that have happened to me. Um, Not necessarily because I want people to feel sorry for me. Like, I never want anybody to feel sorry for me. Like, I say this in the most humble way. I'm doing great. I am
Thank you. Yeah.
extremely,
Yeah, I went through something, but hey, I'm
extremely
out of that.
blessed. Yeah. And
Yeah.
all of that stuff, every single thing I've ever been through, was in preparation for me to become this person. Like I couldn't be who I
There you
am
go.
right now without all that happening. So yeah, it sucked at the time. Yeah, it was rough at the time. It might have looked bad from the outside, but it was necessary for me to get here. So I'm grateful for it at this point. And I think that's why I'm more willing to like talk about things that happen and stuff like that. Especially since I think I saw a quote somewhere and I can't remember it exactly, but it was basically saying that sometimes the work that God wants you to be doing doesn't have anything to do with you, and you not doing that work may be keeping that a blessing from somebody else. And so I feel like by not fully being who I know God wants me to be, I can't I can't do that because then I'm literally not fulfilling my purpose. Like I literally don't feel fulfilled because things aren't happening right around me. But that's because I'm not stepping into who I'm supposed to be at that time. And so that's why now I'm trying to talk about more of the things that, I've been through so that people also remember that, I am human. There's a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, but there are groups of people who look up to me like I'm a celebrity or I'm Beyonce or something. I'm like, I and Beyonce too. I am a human with flaws and I've made mistakes. I still make mistakes. I'm not nearly anywhere close to perfect. I try my best to be like God every day, but I am nowhere near close. So I think having those like more vulnerable, open conversations, like you said, conversations they help people because it's just you kind of getting it off of your chest and your mind.
Over here nodding. I think I'm listening. I'm taking in every word. We have parallel lives because you know I've been not making about me, just more so like comparing the two. Where, like you said, I'm looked at as great father, great husband, doing amazing, and I don't want to reject you from telling me this, but I messed up too. I had many opportunities to be divorced. I had many opportunities to be I hate to use this word, but deadbeat dad, be an absent father. I had, well, especially when you met me. Oh goodness, that era was. I don't know who that was. I look back. Wow, I was really trying to be Dro. I was trying to be a person. That that was it was very difficult. So you watched the difficult part of life. So like you just said, it looked cool back then. It looked like, excuse me, it would look like it was a thing to be, thing to do in the military, and all my boys was being and doing it. But I never wanted that. I always wanted this life right here. So just like you said, at one point you didn't think you were going to make it. I felt the same way. I remember around 10, 11, standing out on my porch. I went talking to my biological dad. My stepdad was new in my life, but I'm just like, what if I just like jump off this patio and just stayed here? How long would it take someone to come get
Mm-hmm.
me, right? And if it happened, I think about how much money we didn't have. I think thought about how poor we were. But to the optics, because we lived in a house, people thought, oh, you're in a house. It's a two-parent household.
House
Yeah,
poor.
great. Yeah, house poor. I like that. And yeah, just since then, I've always thought, you know what? I don't want to go back there. Whatever I need to do to prevent that, and then also my children, whenever I have them, and now I do have them, man, I'm taking time away from things. Taking time away from people as far as giving them my energy. That's over with. If it's between me and you and my children, yeah, yeah, we 20-year relationship, 5-month relationship. It's just not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And I say my children, I mean my family, my wife as well. But yeah, that's great to share. I don't know where you're going, from here. I don't care how your fans, following, friends look at you, but I just know that you're a special being. You're here for a reason. You're here to help. I would love to see more of like. I'm pretty sure you could tell us, and you got things coming up as far as events. I just want to be in support of it because that's what I want to do too. And I love to join. I love to get my side with you, and then we can team something. Because I mean, what I'm working on over here is in the space of philanthropy and counseling and mentorship. And I mean, I don't think it would be if they're genuine counselors, genuine mentors, people who really want to see people get
Right.
better, not try to get
Right.
a dollar out of it.
Let's see, things I have going on. Um, with my modeling right now, this year I've done New York Fashion Week and Miami Swim
Hmm.
Week. And since we're on the podcast of being vulnerable, I would just like people to know that I was very sick during both of those. So if I look great in those pictures, it is by a miracle because I was suffering. And my next show is actually going to be the Atlanta Fashion and Polo Classic, put on by Miguel Wilson at the end of October. It's one of my favorite shows. It's the one that inspired me to come back to modeling after I quit in college.
Mm,
It's a great time. It's horses, fashion. We really can't get any better than that. Usually cigars too. Um,
okay.
in my creative space, I'm directing my first project. I'm very excited about the series. More information, I guess, later
Yeah, yeah.
once
We'll,
there's
we'll,
more to
we'll get
tell.
that. We'll get a part two of it. We'll get up to it later, or you can just show when they're ready. Now they know it's
Right.
coming. So
You gotta
anticipation's
expect
there.
something. Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, I think that's most of my stuff I have going on right now.
All right. Yeah, Fashion weekend ain't no little city council county pageant right there. That's a big deal. Miami. You've seen some places. You have any places out? You say you didn't travel a lot as a child. So have you traveled or been able to like travel abroad? Just maybe personal travel
Yeah,
as an
I
adult.
actually started going, well, I joined a travel group a few years ago. They haven't done a trip in a little while, but we went to Turks and Caicos. Was that
Hmm.
trip? Yeah, I went to Turks and Caicos with Millennials Without Borders. Everybody there was strangers as far as I know, but we were all best friends by the time we left. I had the time of my life. Um, I went to the Dominican Republic a while ago. Um,
Okay.
that's probably one of my favorite countries in the world because Spanish is one of my like major languages that I'm learning. Um,
And let's not breeze by that. We definitely going. I don't want to make sure we hit on the language before we get out of here.
okay, yeah, for sure. And then I think my most recent international trip was India. I went to go
Nice.
and visit some family who was living there at the time. I had a blast. We grew up watching Indian movies, and so that's why it was kind of like a big deal for us to go and see the country in person. And
Okay.
it was great. I ate all the food.
I'm sure.
I
I
ate
mean,
all the food.
I love Indian curry. I love everything that's got to do with like being out. Guys, girls, women, men listening, please go out somewhere. I'm not telling you to go break your bank or if you don't have a passport and you're over 20 years old, which I assume most of my audience is over 20. Please try to start working on that. If you haven't already. And if you have to go by yourself, just what I had to, I've wasted so much time waiting on my friends. Let's
Hmm.
go here. I want to go here, and they like, no, I don't have it. Or I'm like, and I didn't get to go anywhere for real. So I was like, pretty much out of the military. Excuse me. Uh, outside of a deployment, but
Right.
my first trip was Puerto Rico. Since then, I've been to Greece, I've been to Italy, been to Spain, Japan, because my wife's active duty military. So
Okay.
that's an advantage. Like, so I get to travel where she goes. I've been to Okinawa, Japan, in some other places. I don't want to flex too much, but I've been around the world, like literally.
Yeah.
But there's those places I haven't been. I want to go to India. I would love to. I would love to. I've been to Thailand. I've been to Singapore. That's an amazing place.
Oh
You
yeah,
should go there.
Singapore is high on my
I recommend
list.
Singapore. Okay, yes, for sure, for sure. Yeah, DR haven't been. I've been to Puerto Rico, like I said. But just I'm name dropping these places because you know we just from a cultural standpoint. I promise you, if you haven't been, you'll see the world so much different. And I think that's where, like you said, when you were in that situation, you dealt with homelessness, and you get to see these people who don't even have homes or may not have an abundance of these things. We have possessions that are temporary, but possessions, and they're just as happy. They want to help you and serve you. So the big thing for me is just like figuring out what makes you happy, and that itself can take you much further than where you are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And,
Because um,
not just satisfied, but like happy,
actually
like really
happy. I would say I
content.
figured
Yeah.
out that like what makes me happy is helping people. Is
Hmm.
literally the only thing that I can say from now through when I was the teeniest, tiniest child. I've
Wow.
always wanted to help people, no matter how low and down I was. If I could help somebody, that was good enough for me. And that's how I discovered that that was my purpose. That's why I got I can't even say deep into philanthropy because I've been into philanthropy since I was literally a child. But
Sure.
I think that's what made me dive deeper into it and get kind of more specific on who I'm helping, even though I try to do absolutely everything that I can. Um,
Right.
but I think that connection to helping people too is what is because of my exposure to, like I said, different cultures really young too. Um, which is why I decided to learn so many languages because I had influences for them where I learned about the culture
Hmm.
growing up and you curious and then you just hear things all the time and you just start to pick up on it. So
Yeah, I definitely need to get on my Duolingo and work on the Spanish. I'm
yeah.
living again, like I'm living up so many jobs right now because pretty much go ID Indeed, it's like bilingual speakers.
Hmm.
That can get you in the door quicker than having a degree.
Yeah.
You can speak.
Yeah.
So
Just being able to talk to people. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
amazing. Yeah, run down the languages either working on or master. You don't mind.
so I started teaching myself Spanish in like third grade. I was in the Spanish Honor Society in high school, and it was my minor in college. After
Okay.
college, I won't say I'm fluent, and because that's not my like goal with any of my language learning is to be fluent. But I'm very advanced. I'm more advanced in Spanish, and I keep up with it on Duolingo, where I
Yeah.
also learn German.
Plug.
And I started learning German because, like I said, my dad was in the military. And when he was stationed overseas, his favorite country that he was in was Germany. So once he came back home, he was always speaking German. He always like speaks German around the house, like at random, just like small words and stuff.
Sure.
Um, and then I had a friend in college who were exchange students from Germany. And so I feel like I've always had like little German influences here and there, so I started learning that. If you speak English, it is a very easy language to learn. I know most people wouldn't
Sure.
assume that, but learn German. It's fun.
Okay.
And I'm doing French now on Duolingo as well. started learning French because I heard some people speak it at a wedding, and then I realized I knew way more French than I thought I did. So I was like, maybe I should take this more seriously and actually like try.
Yeah, you're definitely the oldest child. Like you want to make sure I know how to cook, I know how to clean, I know how to make sure I can take care of
I
people.
could take
That's
care
really
of
what.
everybody. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's what that's.
I'm very much the first child stereotype.
Hmm.
Very much so.
I love it. I love it, and I truly appreciate it. We're just gonna close out. Didn't expect such great stories and about your past, but I'm glad you were able to share. Hope the nervousness has been knocked out. Um, I hope everyone on the other end is having a blessed day and continues to. Tiera, I appreciate your presence alone, for one, and for not giving up on yourself and noticing and figuring out, you know what, I'm gonna make this work, and I'm gonna not sit on my shoulders and say, but I'm gonna do everything I want to do. And you don't seem to be lacking any kind of confidence. So I hope that never happens going forward as we get older, as we mature, as we grow more wisdom, and share that with other people. So
Thank you.
I hope and pray
Thank
that
you.
this is just one of many pods, even if it's not my own, that you get on, and if not just sharing that story or those stories, that you're able to express yourself in other ways. So I wish you nothing but the best going forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
For, for sure. And with that, this is the Dope Spot, Jay Wandoe. T Nichole, you want to quickly drop your handles and any social media platforms?
Sure. So I have Instagram for the most part, at T Nichole, that's TEE.NICHOLE. My model page is Tiera.mfmodel, that's Tiera.MFMODEL. And if you want to see any of my video production or photography, that is going to be on Visual Memories Media, visualmemories.media for the website and the Instagram. I think that's most of them.
And let them know the MF.
Oh, yes. And my YouTube and general
Yep.
branding can be found under the multifaceted Media Maven.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know what MF meant, but now I know. Multifaceted. I knew about
Multifaceted.
the media maven. Multifaceted media maven.
Yes.
Tiara. T Nichole, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you so much, and look forward to seeing you online, seeing you in October, checking you out. Yeah,
For
do
sure.
your thing.
See
Keep it
y'all.
up. Keep it up. I appreciate you. Bless. Peace.